and this is the Nonprofit Corner podcast with your host, Dr. Victoria Boyd. Brought to you by Give Suite. Simplify giving, amplify impact. And welcome to the Nonprofit Corner podcast with your host, Dr. Victoria Boyd. And like I always say, I can find the best guest because today's guest is Simon Mont. He's going to bring so much value, and I can't wait. Anyway, welcome, Simon, to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for chatting with me, Victoria.
Absolutely. Most of my audience, first they want to know, who is Simon Mont? You know, we don't know Simon Mont, but I like to know, how did you get into the nonprofit space, or, at least helping them? Because that's not a natural path for most people. I'm going by
It's
personal.
a bit of a path for the masochists among us.
Right, why do you, well, even like if you want to be a teacher, yeah, you want to help, but you don't make any money. I see the horn on your back office there. If you notice, well, you can't see my dancer. I taught dance for 28 years, so we both like the arts, and so,
Yeah,
but teaching dance and getting into the nonprofit sector was not a natural path. So
yeah.
give us some background, some story. What's your
All
story?
right. What's my story? Well, in the beginning, now I think you can start. I was a school teacher in South Arkansas. I directed marching bands, and I was the kind of one-man music department for a really small school
I had the
district.
majorettes in the
Oh
marching.
yeah. Oh man, there's so many things we could have been doing in our lifetimes together. Yeah, so I was doing that, and then I wanted to go to law school to do anti-school to prison pipeline work
Mm,
because I was seeing that happen play out in front of my eyes
yeah.
as a school teacher. So then I went to law school, and kind of through the mill of law school, um, saw how many of the institutions that I was a part of and that I was trying to participate in to change the world were actually just replicating the
Yeah.
exact dynamic that I wanted to transform. And I got this like bug in my ear about that. And that led me to kind of exploring movement lawyering and community building and community organizing. I ended up with an internship at this place called the Sustainable Economies Law Center, which is
Mm.
based out of Oakland. And they're doing like new legal infrastructure for a lot of beautiful collaborative community economic projects. And the project that I got put on there was nonprofit governance. So
Oh,
they had this question of, how do you take the ethos and the values that's behind the cooperative economy movement and embed that in the nonprofit form, given all of the patterns that we know that nonprofits are up against in terms
yes.
of the way power works and funding works and things we've inherited from old structures. So I kind of did that internship and then became obsessed. So
I understand that.
we we uh we started organizing groups of people, like peer learning spaces
Hmm.
for people who were trying to break free of a lot of the archaic and sometimes confining, sometimes all the way over to oppressive nonprofit practices, trying to break free of those, shared leadership, kind of flatter organizations. We brought that together, formed something called the Nonprofit Democracy Network, which is still up and running.
Okay.
And then you can't do governance for very long before you realize it's not just governance and decision making, it's operations. And you can't do that for very long before realizing it's also culture, and it's also political analysis, and it's also trauma, and it's also skill development, and it's also
Oh my God,
everything.
you're naming everything that's in the handbook. Okay, go ahead.
It's also everything all at the same time,
Yeah.
because you have this question of the fundamental question of, like, we are people, we are trying to do something good. How?
Yeah.
And then I just was like, that's the question I want to live into. And it's been a decade of it at
Okay.
this
Yeah.
point.
So we're aligned in so many ways. Like I just said, I last week the Universal Board Handbook was published,
Yeah.
and it's all about governance, roles and responsibilities. Because I saw a gap. I taught nonprofit management at UNLV for 8 or
Nice.
9 years, and I kept seeing gaps. And one of the gaps was they call themselves having orientation, and they give them this nice little binder and stuff with programs, financials, the bylaws, who's on the board, but they never talk about what is their role.
Yeah.
Who are you as a board member? And so that's how I evolved to that. And that was even after doing this book, which is Board Bound Leadership, which also was roles and responsibilities, but I don't think people understood how to use it. And so
Yeah.
I had to redo. But I love the things you're saying because you're talking about a whole ecosystem of
Uh-huh.
what they need to not only understand, but know when to stay out of it and when to get involved. And I noticed I saw that in your collaborative manuals that we're going to be
Yeah.
talking about. But
Yeah, yeah, I'm excited to get into it.
yeah, I did. I read the whole thing. So so but anyway,
I'm honored.
um, so you come with several different aspects. First, a teacher, which I love because we come with, I'm gonna say, a unique mindset
Uh-huh.
and how we present. But that means you also understand how to present stuff, how
Yeah.
to make it palatable, how to make it so people can actually understand it. And often that is lost in industry experts or, people that, how do you tell people how to do something? And your whole what you were talking about, how to create cultures, how to do this, you're telling them, you're teaching them how to evolve as an organization under multiple umbrellas. So in that
Yep. Wow,
mindset,
you picked it up fast. That's so cool. I'm glad.
I try.
Feel so seen.
Oh, thank you. So if you had to pull out something that is important, because you put that together, and I'm sure you started at some major point that you were trying to get across. If you had to summarize it in a statement, why should someone look at your manual or uh, pay attention to what strategies or the concept that you're presenting means to them?
Yeah. I think that a lot of people end up in leadership positions in nonprofits because they are issue area experts, right? So they are passionate about food justice. So they start working in food justice, and all of a sudden they're the director of a food justice nonprofit. It's a lot way a lot of people do,
Yeah.
especially small nonprofits and founders. An issue area expertise is really important. It's not actually the same as organizational development expertise.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
It's a huge skill gap that a lot of us experience, and it's no shade on anybody.
No, it's
I, I'm
I'm
an organizational development expert. I don't know much about food justice, right? We have these
yes.
different lanes, but what happens is that issue area experts end up in leadership roles, and then unconscious assumptions about what a leader is start driving things and put pressures on them to do things that they were not actually trained,
Or have no experience.
have no
Knowledge.
experience to do. And then
Absolutely.
what and then often what happens is people go for leadership development. And leadership development is okay, let me learn how I can be different and let me learn the different skills and interpersonal skills and my leadership type. And all that's really beautiful. And it still often misses the training that people need on just what is the architecture of a successful organization.
Yeah, I call them systems operations and management.
There
What
you
does your
go.
back end look like? I deal with that whole topic a lot because a part of what I do is help founders when they think they want to start a nonprofit. I help them think through the process. Do you really want a nonprofit? Is there somebody else out there already doing this? But I applaud their passion for
Yeah.
what it is they want to do, but I start asking them, so what about your branding and your marketing? And it's the deer in the headlight look,
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, so what web site platform are you going to use? I intentionally take them down paths where they don't know the answer too much
Mm-hmm.
to sort of show them it's more to just having passion and then I, talk about how can you build, because you mentioned culture and things, how can you build a team that you're filling the gaps that you don't have
Hmm.
and create again this ecosystem that will fill some of the gaps. You will never fill all the gaps. Let's just put it out
Yeah.
there. They will never fill all the gaps. No, there's always going to, even in large organizations, gaps come and go and evolve because organizations are always evolving.
Yeah.
But I think once they understand we're always evolving, that leaves the door open for always evolving, if you get what I mean. They will
That's
accept it.
and that's kind of exactly the angle that we take in, because we also kind of notice that there's a lot of places that people can go for different kinds of support about the different technical aspects of running a nonprofit,
Hmm.
right? If you want branding help, there are people who do branding.
Yep.
Great. Right? If you want, you want fundraising help, there are people who do fundraising. But then what happens when you try to zoom out on the whole thing and see how it all fits together? And then when you realize that you're going to have to constantly grow and evolve, how do you create a system inside your organization that's going to allow you to grow and evolve in response to the thing you actually want to grow and evolve
Yeah,
to?
yeah. And
So,
there's two types of evolution, I'll call it.
yeah.
There's scalability and sustainability.
Mm-hmm.
Some organizations never want to scale. That means they're not looking to get large because they have decided that they only want to service a small community, a small audience of, and they're happy with just 10 or 20 clients or however,
Totally.
and that's okay.
Yeah.
But the question is, how are you going to sustain it? You
Mm-hmm.
know, and many times they don't even think about that. I'll tell founders, and sometimes it hurts them to their heart. I said, you're not going to be around here forever.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a legacy plan?
Yeah.
How are you looking at, moving on? But I mean, I saw so many great points within your manual that, I was like, yes, yes.
Yeah. And I think the thing that I'm the most proud about the manual, which is just kind of like a template for an operating manual for an organization, is the high level category. So when you think about, well, what does it take to create an organization? We think of it in terms of it's a way of seeing, being, working, and growing together. It's a way
Hmm.
of seeing, how do you understand your context, what is causing what, your place in the world and your strategy, being how you're navigating as an individual in relationships and culture, working together, what are your structures, your practices and processes, and your policies, and then growing together. How do you confront the fact you're always going to need to change? So what are you
Yep.
changing in response to? And just anchoring in these four big questions. And then when you start to think about all the other component parts, we have a trunk of the tree to
Mhm.
hang
And I look
the
at
whole
it as
thing
a
on.
wagon wheel. I'm just
Yeah.
the, as you were talking, that's how I was visualizing because you have your mission right as the axle.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of the spokes, all of those things that you mentioned are the spokes. And the wheel doesn't stay up unless you have those spokes.
Mm-hmm.
And then the whole outside rim is what holds it all together. I know I like visualizations
There you go.
and putting them. Okay, we're going to take a real quick break right now, and we'll be right back with the Nonprofit Corner podcast with our guest, Simon Mont, and your host, Dr. Victoria Boyd. We'll be right back. There's 5 reasons your board's check light engine is on. Get the diagnostics today at boardhandbook.org/diagnostic. And welcome back to the Nonprofit Corner podcast with your host, Dr. Victoria Boyd. We're having a fabulous conversation. It's amazing when I meet people that really align with so many ideas, philosophies that I've had for many, many years. But Simon is really, I mean, he's now my bestie. Okay. Because I really get where he's coming from. I've never thought of it in the perspective and angle, but as soon as I heard and was going through his collaboration. And I know we keep talking about this collaboration manual. Don't worry, folks. We're going to let you have a copy of it. So it's coming. But I was quite impressed.
Mhm.
And I'll say it's hard to impress me.
Oh.
But um, if you had to really talk about, because you gave me the title Beyond Leadership, building organizations. Now we touched on that, but if you had to put that in a real thought-provoking, take action type of scenario for some of our listeners here, um, because I'm going to say a lot, everybody doesn't consider themselves leaders. Some are staff that are listening,
Hmm.
but they actually are leaders in their in their world.
Hmm.
uh, no matter what role they play in the organization, they have the capacity, and I think they should embrace that no matter how large or small, they can be a leader
Hmm.
within their world. But beyond leadership, building organizations sometimes goes over the head of people. So
Yeah.
what further do you have to say about that part of it?
Imagine the organization that you're a part of is a house, and all of the teams are the different rooms,
Hmm.
and the culture is all of the decoration, right? And the processes are the tables, and different practices are different objects that are in there, right? You have a pool table. Do you have a chart board? Like, what do you have in there? Now, if y'all were living in this house, it'd be pretty obvious if you took a step back and realized, hang on, the structure of this house is shaping our interactions. Our dining room is only can only fit 5 people, so we can
Mm,
only have 5 people in the dining room.
yeah.
The kitchen is really massive, so we can do a lot of great cooking and really creative, but there's no place for us all to have a whiteboard together, right? So there's one way of thinking once you notice that you're in this house that is cool. How am I as an individual going to behave in this house?
Mm,
There's another way of thinking, which is, hang on, what is the design of this house as a whole?
yeah.
And how do we need to potentially change it to unlock new possibilities for us as a group?
Hmm.
And that's the the first thing of like, how am I going to be a leader inside the space? How am I going to have the identity of taking charge and exerting power and getting my will done? Okay, that's cool. But how do we actually think about the architecture, the social architecture that we create for ourselves, and what that makes possible and what that makes difficult? And then that's the point of the collaboration manual and the CB work grow together framework, is like, let's actually look at the design of the
Hmm.
social architecture and then be in our power to start making adjustments to that. And most of us are very aware that there needs to be adjustments. Anybody
Oh,
is in an organization who's like, oh, the management process is
yeah.
trash, or we need DEI work, or this is colonial mindset, or whatever it is. Everybody's aware, but it's hard to
And
then
I call
take.
that the engine light check.
Yeah.
That, in fact, that was my session in the summit yesterday.
Yeah.
Your
So how do
engine
you
light,
then?
your engine light is on. And so something's off. And in your car, do you ignore the engine light? No, in fact, it sends a chill through you when you see it because, oh Lord, is this a big issue or is this just something tiny? And when you talked about the house, I was envisioning lifting up the hood of a car to
Yeah.
seeing what's wrong because in a car, if everything isn't working together as a system,
Yeah.
your car is going to either backfire or sputter or just stall out on you altogether. And you want to fix that before it happens. And in the house, people can come in and stay or come in and go. And
Mm-hmm.
so and you said it, how as a culture do you deal with that in your own room?
Yeah.
Can you initiate um, leadership qualities or innovation. A lot of times when people ask me about strategic planning, I said, no, let's not start with strategic planning. What are your, goals and values and all that? Let's start with strategic innovation. What are
Mm-hmm.
some of your dreams and aspirations for the organization? So you're thinking bigger.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's a leadership step when you are being innovative, and then you take those innovative thoughts and start thinking about what are some of the objectives, goals, tactical strategies that we can implement to see these innovations come to life. I
Yeah.
felt that as I was going through some of your sessions because how I interpreted a lot of the different areas was you were giving people permission
Uh-huh.
to take action or be innovative. I don't know if that was in the back of your mind or anything, or I'm just
Oh,
interpreting stuff.
well, yeah, I think we really like get into the guts of what we're doing here.
Hmm.
We think that the world that we want to see, a world with like true liberty and true justice for all people of all identities, regardless of any background, as well as like true liberty and justice for the non-human inhabitants of the earth itself, the
Yeah.
ancestors, like really what we're going for. We all have to break out of a ton of different patterns and learn and experiment in a lot of different ways. So that means that when we get together in an organization, we need that organization to be a space that invites that constant learning,
Hmm.
where the structure that you're inside of catalyzes personal transformation, right?
Absolutely.
So a lot
Absolutely.
of people have the like, I'm gonna change myself, I'm gonna change the world. That's great. But if you go out and you have a revelatory experience, you come back personally transformed, and you come back into an organization where you have to fit inside a tight little box, you're going to condition yourself back inside that tight little
Yeah.
box.
Yeah. You're going to be stifled. Yep.
But if you have that experience and you come into a space, and not only does that space not force you into the box, it forces you out of it. It
Hmm.
forces you to think about how I'm actually engaging the people around me. It forces you to step into your power as a co-creator of the culture and structure and processes that you are experiencing. You create the collective governance through
Yeah.
your behavior. Once you're in that, now we're kind of have this engine where you have to show up a little bit
Yeah.
more on your game, and
Yeah.
that's
And
what we're trying to create.
absolutely. You're talking about mindset with it,
Mhm.
it's and in the handbook, I talk about mindset. Why did you actually join the board? Why are you even here?
Mhm.
If it's just to, as you say, fit in the box, then you're not going to be an asset because, oh, I've heard so often, well, we've always done it that way.
Uh-huh.
Ah, that it's like chalk, scraping your fingernails on the chalkboard when I hear that. I'm like, oh no, you're not in that box, are you? So, but
Uh-huh.
I and I guess because I've always been a learner, it's hard for me to envision people who don't embrace continuous learning, evolving, a culture of learning and things like that. It, it's just hard for me to envision. So I have to step back and sort of temper what I say so
Yeah.
so that
Well,
I
I had a mentor one time, a long time ago, um, really help like really reframe this whole thing for me.
okay.
And I was kind of talking about something similar. I was like, why can't we all just? And she's a reverend, incredible, incredible woman, Reverend Tandeka. And she said, look, when you're if you're leading a congregation, some of the people in the congregation are there because they want to have continuously evolving mystical
Hmm.
experiences. And some of them are there because they want to have a good time in the kitchen. And some of them are there because we serve a little bit of wine afterward, right? Everybody is there engaging the thing from a different perspective.
Absolutely.
And if you, as a leader, Simon, demand that everybody try to engage it in the kind of mystical way that you personally, Simon, are interested in, you're going to lose everyone. That's not actually what the project is. So you
Hmm.
have to realize that the different people who are engaging it in different ways all have their roles,
Hmm.
and that sometimes it's about encouraging them to think differently, and sometimes it's about creating the space where they all belong. And that really was then echoed in this idea of like spiral dynamics, if you're familiar with that little nerdy universe. But that really like clicked a light on for me, because there was that experience, and that came really close to an experience I had actually at the Sustainable Economies Law Center, where they had a really flexible structure, like really self-directed, really do whatever you want. And they were having rapid turnover,
Hmm.
largely of the people of color that they were hiring. And they were like, what is happening?
Hmm.
What is happening here? Because we thought we were creating kind of like a free and welcoming space. And on one hand, culturally, they were, but structurally, it was, to be a part of it, you had to be really self-directed. You had to be comfortable operating in a ton of uncertainty without specific
Hmm.
guidelines, and with a deep trust that everybody around you was going to respect what you were doing, regardless of whether there was a clear
And
objective
see,
that you were doing.
being a
And
person of color, we don't come with that.
right, boom. And now all of a sudden, there's this strange racial dynamic that was happening against their best intentions. And they had to really reevaluate their assumptions about what created belonging and safety. And that was also super informative for me going forward, because then realizing that sometimes the person really wants creative space to do whatever they want. And there's a lot of people out there who want a task, they want a checklist. They want to know they did the
Yeah.
checklist. They want to know if they did the checklist good. They want to know that's connected to something bigger. And then they want to go home to their family and leave their job at home, and figuring out how to create spaces where everybody
Yeah, yeah, and
can
and
work.
and a lot of that, and I guess I learned a lot of that when you looked at multiple intelligences and the
Yeah.
different way people learn, the different experiences that come into a space that that setting up one model, if it is not going to work, I'll just say that it one model might be innovative, but do you have the opportunity for flexibility when others come in that don't have those back experiences or just aren't comfortable with that type of model? Can you, first of all, create some type of path where they can be exposed to it gradually,
Yeah.
learn that it's not a deficiency that they have because they're not comfortable, but it is a learning opportunity. It's actually a door that might open for them to evolve. Here we go with that
Yeah.
evolve stage. That was a great example.
Yeah.
So I'm going to dig deep right
Do
now
it. Do it.
because in your manual you have a section in there that really attracted me to it because I think for our listeners it is a here's something that they can use right away. They can extract it out of there. And I'm talking about you have a practices section and it's page
Mm-hmm.
18 in case they want the exact page. It's page
All right. Go
18
for it.
and it says getting work done. And it gives a great chart on all of the different meeting types. And I'm in a lot of meetings and I'm like, a lot of times I've gone to a meeting like, what is this for? What are we doing here? But this really can help move, I want to say move just either administrators or leaders of a nonprofit organization so that they don't, first of all, create meaningless meetings, you know, and they
Yeah.
communicate what the meeting is about. So people come prepared. So I'm going to try and pull it up real quick. um, I think I was okay. Here I'm taking too much time, but anyway, it's a table. Okay, why is it not moving? On page 18, and it I defines what meetings are. Uh, 15. Okay, I'm almost there. Okay, meeting types, and it gives the purpose, which we know there's different types of meetings, but by being able to identify, label, it also helps them look at maybe we need to have different meetings, but don't call them meetings. Okay, my cold is starting to come in. So
Yeah. Well,
But
I
like
can.
you identified, is it a governance meeting? So are you just discussing, and I'm just going right through the way we organize ourselves? Is it a strategy meeting? To me, that's where innovation and aligning high level priorities and thinking, that's where you get people to open up and contribute. That's
Mhm,
how tactical, because some people don't know the difference between tactical and strategy,
mhm.
which there is a nuance difference. So, and if you want to, tactical is aligning on actions within a specific, let me not cover it up, time frame. And so, but it's a full chart, and it even talks about meeting rhythms, and it gives them something to do. But this is on page 18,
Yeah, I
and
think.
I think it's a tool that someone could implement almost immediately. Do you want to add more about why you created that chart?
Yeah, the real reason is because oftentimes meetings are ineffective or frustrating, or there's conflict because it's not clear what the primary intention of the meeting is,
Yep.
and then that opens up the space for different people to bring different intentions. And then those intentions create tension with one another.
Yep.
So if the two of us show up to a meeting and I think that it is a 30-minute meeting that's just a tactical meeting, we're just going to align on the actions we're taking for the week.
Hmm.
And you think that it is a relational meeting for us to build deeper trust and vulnerability and openness between us, we are not going to be successful. I'm going to come in, try to be tactical. You're going to experience that as a bit dehumanizing and invisibilizing. You are going to then try to be vulnerable with me. I'm going to then experience that as like kind of a waste of time and frustrating because I'm just trying to get on with my time. And all of a sudden, it looks like we have some deep cultural misalignment, but
Friction,
really,
yeah.
we just came into the game with different intentions.
Expectations, yeah.
But if we say, look, we do relational meetings as a group every other Friday.
Hmm.
I know no matter how tactical I like to be, I need to show up ready to be relational. And
Yep.
we do tactical meetings, we do tactical stand-ups every Monday morning. Then no matter how relational you like to be, for 30 minutes, we're focusing on this. And then we kind of think holistically as an organization, okay, what is the rhythm that we need to touch these different
Yes.
things? Sometimes you really need to come back to governance, right? There's seasons in an organization's life cycle
Yeah,
where you need
absolutely.
to be talking about governance every week. Every week, it's like, how are we organizing ourselves? What is our team
Yep,
structure? What
especially if you're
decision
in
making?
that infancy stage. Yeah.
We got to do it. And
Hmm.
there's sometimes where you got to stop,
Hmm.
right? You got to say no, we're only talking about governance issues once a month right now because we need to be so focused on executing clear things
Well,
that we're
yeah.
aware.
As an add-on to that, sometimes the administrative or the organizational operations side needs to let go of governance
Mm-hmm.
and hand it over to the board where it belongs. And that's where, and you mentioned it in there. What is your role? Where do you fit in this flow chart or organizational chart? Are you governance or are you administration? And the two, they communicate, but they don't overlap in terms of what their roles and
Mm-hmm.
responsibilities are.
Well, we could have some fun conversations about other governance structures where we
Oh,
include
oh
the
yeah.
staff. That'd be fun.
It's,
But yeah, that's the basic gist of the meeting rhythm is right. It's just like, what are you doing?
yeah,
Because if we all know what we're doing, we can do it. And if we all come in with different ideas, it's hard to do.
yeah.
Um, and if you try to do all of it all at the same time, then we're in trouble, right? If we're trying to have a meeting where we're building relationships, debriefing, learning, doing strategy, and doing a work time all together,
Yep.
we're doing
My
nothing.
my favorite saying is, "How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time." That's
Yep, there
that's
you
the
go.
only way you can get through it. This has been fantastic, and I want to emphasize to our audience that this chart is something that you can use immediately. It is so valuable in just helping you define and really, I'm going to say, be tactical about
Here we
what
go.
your meeting what your meetings are about and how you need to schedule them. Simon, if you have any final things to say or how people can reach you, we're going to have the link to get this manual in the podcast description. So make sure you download that link. Tell people how they can contact you if you want them to.
Yeah, it's simple, just www.harmonize.work. We got a website. You can download this manual there, and then there's a button right at the top to just set up a time to chat. We just try to avoid kind of like long back and forth as people of are we not going to
Yeah,
talk, emails, just
absolutely.
set up a time, and we can talk about whether it's good fit to work together, because we offer kind of facilitation, training, coaching, consulting, the same kinds of services a lot of folks do. And we'd love to connect with more folks.
Absolutely. So that's harmonizing.work.
Harmonize.
Harmonize. Ooh, see, I got to, yep, harmonize. But I'll put the URL right in this podcast. Thank you so much. I mean, it has been truly enlightening and a joy to meet you.
Yeah,
So,
thanks, Dr. Victoria.
absolutely. This has been the Nonprofit Corner podcast with your host, Dr. Victoria Boyd, and we will see you next time.